Virtualness, Saurabh Doshi. Saurabh's going to hot talk with us in just a minute. And our moderator today, what? This guy? That's me, Rich Robinson, entrepreneur in residence at Animoca Brands.
Yeah, Rich.
Thank you very much. Hey, good morning. You know what? I'm just going to sit here to make it, Saurabh can sit on the other side, make it a little bit more intimate. So we're going to talk about how Web3 can get you closer and keep you closer to the consumer. I'm going to talk a little bit. I'm going to introduce you guys really quick. So Brittany Lee, kind of a force of nature from China, my adopted homeland. I spent 25 years there. She's brand director over at Planet Tota. I love their mission and vision of they want to be like Marvel and DC of Asia. And she has this great sports and entertainment background working at Man U as a relationship director. And welcome. And we have Broderick. He is a futurist and NFT growth strategist. So he helps clients on practical applications on bleeding edge tech. And he's leading growth at LiquidX. And that's a venture studio focused on application layer companies. So let me just start with you, Broderick. Let's just why is Web3 interesting for creating engagement? What can you do with Web3 that's uniquely different from Web2?
I think Web3 is all about ownership, right? I think at the end of the day, it's all about
Internet of ownership.
Internet of ownership. So this is the way that we could truly identify the true fans. You know, the guys on top right here was talking about that right just now. So people who hold the asset, who actually invest in it, who actually have their money in it, they are, like, in a sense, the true fans. And they're holding on to it. There are profits, but they're not exiting. So these are like the true fans, and these are the community that we can then engage, and we can really set them apart from the people who are just here maybe to make a profit for themselves, or people who are just here to do their own thing, or people who are just here to maybe try to scam people. But the token-gated community is something that we have and we can do, especially with NFTs, which is really token Web3. That help us govern and create a truly gated community. Yeah.
So, Internet of ownership. Yeah, Web 1, you just read it. Web 2, read, write. Web 3, read, write, own. That's great. But you can own stuff in Web 2. I can own merch. I can own a, album, back when you could actually own albums and not just streaming things. I can own, other things related. How does the Web3 Internet of ownership, like token gated community, what's exactly different? Like, Brittany, like what are you doing to
I think
really engage?
A lot of people said that, yes, I would own that CD. I would own a lot of things in the Web2 world, obviously, but there's no way to prove it, right? I mean, when you destroy the CD, do you actually really own it? Right? I mean, the physical things and stuff like that. I think what Web3 is with the blockchain technology, right? Because everything is written on the blockchain with smart contracts. So there is a record of you owning it. That's why the great Banksy, the piece of painting, right, with a girl that has a red balloon, and as soon as it's being sold, he just destroyed it, right? I think, but actually, if you look at the true ownership, that you can still backtrack it on blockchain, right? And if you talk about the so-called flipping your NFTs, you will still be able to kind of start engaging with that on the blockchain, right? Why do you think people have BAYC, right? It's just for the flaunting, the true ownership. People don't even want to just do the right click and save anymore, right? Because the true ownership that's being written on the blockchain technology makes a big difference. Yeah.
That's great. So I'm glad we started off with the ownership component. Ownership is one aspect, but what about engagement though? I can own something and be disengaged, or I can own something and be even not only just disengaged, but I just want to flip it. I'm only there just for the speculative aspect of it. What about that true connection? What do you see in these token gated communities that's different, or other uses of NFTs to really create that bond?
Oh.
Let's go. I was making eye contact there, and then we'll go to you. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so that is a problem, right? Especially in the bull market, where profits is just everywhere, right? Like, you see, I don't know, you wake up in the morning, you make $2,000, $3,000, $10,000, and you feel so tempted to exit because profit is better than community, right? Sometimes. Right, but I think in the bear market, you really see a lot of people kind of weaning off. We see a huge part of the NFT community, in air quotes, right? NFT community leaving because, like, there's no more money to be made here, right? Whatever is left today, whatever is left here in Token, whatever is left here at Web3, the people who remain are the people who remain, the people who truly want to be here. So,
And here's a person that truly wants to be here. Put your hands together for Saurabh, everybody. Welcome. Excellent. Yeah, and let's dig into that in just a minute. I'm just going to do a quick intro to Saurabh. He's the founder of Virtualness. He used to be over at Meta and Viacom, if you've ever heard of those companies before. So Virtualness is a global AI-led mobile-first platform that helps creators and brands and media to navigate AI and blockchain. So we've been talking about how Web3 is the internet of ownership. And all right, ownership, how does that actually translate into engagement? So Brittany, what are you doing over at Planet Tota? Like, how are you actually really engaging on chain with your users?
Absolutely. I think I would say if you look at the target audience, right? Obviously, you have the Web3 native, you have the normal consumers, right? So actually from Planet Tota's perspective is we're actually targeting both populations, but in a very, really helping the Web2 population to migrate into the Web3 without even mentioning the word of Web3, metaverse, and NFTs. In terms of the crypto native, right? Like he just mentioned that people were actually driven by the monetary factors of it. You know, if I just flip the NFT, maybe one day I'll make a lot of money. Or if I just buy these coins, that's such a low price, it's gonna go up to a thousand X, right? But I think if you look at the Web3 native, they are generally a little younger, right? They like being unique, right? The sense of ownership. They also like to flaunt, but they also like to hang out with like-minded people, right? Just to talk about things, even though it's just the worst thing in the world in the Discord chat group, right? It's definitely not some of the most sophisticated conversation that's happening over here, but people are just not tired enough, just going there every single morning, GM everyone. If you GM back, I'll do something, right? So I think the sense of community, the sense of being belonging, and also the flaunting culture that really bonds everybody together. And I think initially I would say that it's definitely because people think they can make a lot of money, go to the moon, right, so to speak. But I think right now with projects, what we're doing is not only to attract them with sort of the monetary kind of aspect to it, but also really the content, right? At Planet Tota, we are creating a universe of superhuman characters because superhero, the term has been coined by Marvels and DC. And, you know, we're hoping that people will actually generally like our content first and then start engaging our NFTs, because a lot of the crypto bros, they forgot, they are also consumers. Right? When they're going to the metaverse space, they're like, oh yeah, your project is so cool. You're doing movies, you're doing games, you have NFT, the metaverse, what else? But I'm like, yeah, aren't you a consumer? Don't you watch Marvels and DC? Right? Look at what they're doing, right? That's how you grow into liking them. So I think within Web3 native, I think our goal is to kind of, you know, telling them that we are a Web3 project from that angle, but eventually get them hooked onto our storyline, which is not something that I think that's going to be overly difficult, you know, to do for them. Whereas for the normal consumers, right, I think the Web3 sort of notions, metaverse, NFT do throw them off a little bit because they're like, what is this? Sounds very complicated. I feel like in the sense that it's even more terrifying than AI, right? Because with ChatGPT, you can actually interfacing with it. But when it comes to Web3, all these horrific news, the misconception of Web3 just comes along with it. So but doesn't mean that a lot of the mainstream brands are not actually, you know, making all these efforts just because they see how Web3, the methods of Web3 have been engaging with the communities, right? With the rewards, you know, and everything that happens so fast, right? This is something that the normal brands are not able to catch up with, especially trying to retain their consumers with their CRM system and loyalty program, right? Yeah.
Great, thanks. Yeah, and I like that you talk about how perhaps Web3 is in actuality more scary than what AI could be, because there actually are bad actors that have basically pooped in the pool, more or less, right? And the internet and blockchain had a baby, and that's Web3. Finance and blockchain had a baby, and that's DeFi. And unfortunately, that Venn diagram has almost been like eclipsed, and people equate that with Web3. However, in Web 1, Web 2, of course, finance, there's public companies, there's venture financing, but it's separate. There's builders who are actually building things, but then there's this sort of cloud around crypto, and there's this negative connotation there. And there's also, on the user side, people are sort of skeptical and worried, but you're this cartilage in between helping brands create that engagement. And that's why I think all that matters is important, because there's so many people here that are really deep into traditional industry Web 2 and have all the users. And they're like, sell me rich on this Web 3 thing. All I see are rug pulls, and I see things going down, and I see a lot of like difficult terminology. Like give us a good example of like a case study of where Web3 really engaged with the brand and really made a difference.
Yeah, Rich, this is a super important point. In fact, we don't even want to call, Web3, we just say it like Web 2.5. It's, in a very simplistic way, for a consumer, it doesn't matter whether it's Web 2 or Web 3 or Web 2.5. It's more like, okay, what I'm getting out of, or, what is the kind of utility around it. And so, for us, a lot of this was, and Brittany spoke about really like the asset ownership and the identity piece. And then there's the third big piece, which is the reward and the utility piece, and, the whole loyalty piece, which blockchain enables. And when we started our Virtualness, for us, it was like, okay, how do we make it like really, really one simple for Web 2 users, the next billion folks who would come to Web 3 to kind of, experience the power of blockchain technology without even kind of knowing, or without even, getting into any complexity of jargon. So, we kind of literally took out any friction around, you don't have to like log in through your like, very complex wallets. It's just like, your login through your emails, etc. And as well as, how do you kind of, unlock real rewards for, as you said, traditional media organizations to be able to engage with their fans. And so, Joey's here, we will be able to kind of get a lot of, sports organizations and media organizations signed up for their transition into how they actually engage with their fans in a very newer way, which would not be possible in a traditional Web 2 way. And so, the likes of Liga 1 or PBA, etc., which we've been working with, to your point, very specific example is that, Persija, one of the clubs in Indonesia, we've signed up. Like the football fans are crazy about their merchandise, and what they want to do is, they want to increase footfall in their store, because, if people come to the store, it's kind of a 20% increase in sale. And so, the activation we did was, hey, if you buy this player card, which they dropped on our platform, then you get a discount coupon at the store. And that is like, very unique way or example where, a fan really feels like that, okay, one, I get to own the player card, which will eventually get me, some loyalty and benefits in the future. It could unlock a ticket, it could unlock, a meet and greet, or, anything which Persija does. Plus, at the same time, that NFT is actually, or digital good, is, linked to their merchandise system. So actually, then the fans can either go to the store, get a discount, or a physical merchandise can be shipped. And those are kind of, very exclusive like use cases which are super interesting. And then the one other thing I'll tell you, which is not possible in a Web 2 world, which is fascinating, is, just his ability to trade and retrade. When I was a kid, I used to go all, to the next Kirana shop and buy those player cards and trade with my friends. And now that is actually getting unlocked in a Web 3 world where, I can have those assets and trade with my friends and community. And this is not about so much, about making money out of flipping those, but it's more about, loyalty towards the player, towards the club, and how, within my community, how I'm kind of, engaging around those loyalties. And that is like really, really what we are trying to unlock. And that's what, the future of probably the digital collectibles will be.
Beautiful. Thanks for sharing. In many ways, you talked about what's possible in Web 3 that's not possible in Web 2. Web 2 is a really distorted version of the internet where there's very few, like, I know you were at Meta before, but like, we believe that House of Zuckerberg and, Lords of Microsoft and Order of, Activision, like, they're basically like, you know, it's a feudal system. They're like these kings, and you're a vassal in that ecosystem, and basically you're digging and working, and you own nothing. And then they show up in their horses. Hey, 500 kilos of sweet potatoes. You can keep 5, and we'll take the rest. Or actually, you don't get any of it. We're going to take all of it. And there's the shareholders, and then there's the producers, and there's consumers. But now you can be a shareholder and a consumer and a producer, and it's actually a much braver new world. And what are you seeing that's actually different from Web 2? What you can do uniquely in the loyalty field, in the loyalty space, that actually brings us more kind of into the real world? Because I think Web 3 is more like you're in the real world. It's not more difficult to understand. It's actually easier to understand if you really think about how the real world works. And it's not just ad supported or subscription. You actually have this digital asset ownership. Dig a little bit deeper how you see loyalty evolving around that.
Yeah, I think loyalty, it's a big word, right? And it's so much more than just like being involved. It also includes like holding on the asset for a long duration of time. So at Pixelmon, we're actually developing like a loyalty system where when you engage with a tweet, you get some points. You get a we call it badges, right? Because we're a gaming company after all.
You get rewarded for your engagement and your data.
Yeah. So you when you engage on Twitter, you get rewarded when you attend Twitter Spaces. You get rewarded when you show up for physical event. You get rewarded when you participate in playtests, because we are building 2 mid-core games, couple of casual games. When you're involved in the playtest, when you give valuable feedback, you get rewarded with all these badges, and all these badges will mean future rewards, right? So our lawyers say we can't say too much about what kind of rewards we're redistributing, right? But these badges that we are setting up in place, where people engage in both the community, on Twitter, on social, on playtests, all of this will be then rewarded. So these people have a big sense of ownership and loyalty to the brand. Why? Because they have collected all these little like trinkets, little badges to say that, oh, I've been around since day one. I've been around since, for the last 1,000 days. I've been around in the playtest. I was there at the beta. I was there at this event and at this event. So all of these little badges actually become like hey, look, it's more than just like I'm rich, but hey, I am involved. I was involved in this project. I was in the genesis of the development of these games. So I think that is one of the ways that we are tackling loyalty right now.
And you, Brittany?
So I think from a Web2 standpoint, right, obviously I think one of the big mission for Planet Tota is also helping the Web2 audience and brand migrate into the Web3. I think, like you mentioned, that, the concept of engagement, of creating these loyalty program it still exists, right, in real life. It's just like maybe brands they didn't want to put in the dollar investment into actually engaging, creating all this gamification and rewards like kind of program to reward their consumers, right? But at the end of the day, the logic is still, if you're looking at marketing, if you look at everybody's psychology, everybody's fighting for that second, right? If you're on digital, like you're fighting against TikTok, how do you actually attract your consumers' attention span onto your platform, right? So I think with the reward system, and it's not only providing the rewards, how soon the consumers can redeem the rewards as well. Like, for example, like I've been, if you go to, I'm sure if you go to Watson, if you go to like 7-Eleven, they'll be like, oh, would you like to collect your points? I'm like, I wouldn't want to do that. What can I do? Oh, you can exchange, you can get a gift. I'm like, I don't want that gift. I don't even bother opening that loyalty program to begin with, right? Because it's just not personally attractive to me. And also I'm like, so when can I redeem it? Oh, after you buy 10 coffees. 10 coffees? How about 5 coffees? I don't want to wait until I get the 10th coffee to get another, just 1 cup of coffee, right? It's nothing special as well. There's no uniqueness to it. There's no such thing as fighting for it, right? And nobody, it's just another coffee. I can, just go to another place. So I think the gamification is also very important, right? Because if you're talking about some mainstream brands like, the Starbucks Odyssey, right? It's really kind of the interface with normal consumers is probably not as difficult, right? It's possible for a Web3 project to help the normal consumer to ease into the Web3 world without even, having them to plug in their MetaMask, right? And just for example, at Planet Tota, the login system is extremely easy. Your email and that we didn't even ask for your MetaMask, but we're creating a custodial wallet for you, right? So we can actually help you to smoothen with the user journey. So it's, you know, the cost of customer acquisition here is actually quite being, you know, transitioned quite smoothly into the system. And then you're using the content, using gamification, asking people to unlock it and earn rewards, right? And this constant sort of content is actually content business being pushed out to people and make it more interesting to people or personable. We're talking about identity, right? Like on social media, Web2, yes, you have identity. What is it? Your username, maybe a profile picture. Web3, you can actually create your own avatar that somewhat looks like you. But regardless, but if you have the avatar, you prone to just kind of using the avatar to represent just yourself more. Even the avatar itself, how cool it looks, you do want to flaunt it, right? And once you use the avatar to enter that space to conquer all these things, I think it would definitely make people feel like it's more of an interesting space rather than just getting some free coffee, you know, at the end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for bringing up MetaMask. I remember Web 1 really clearly, and people said, oh, Web 1 was difficult. You had to do dial-up modem and browser plugins and TCP/IP. Web 1 was way easier than Web 3. Web 3 is almost ridiculously, it's kind of like, it doesn't want any users right now. It's so difficult. We have a lot of work to do on the onboarding. But also in some ways, Starbucks, you brought up Starbucks. Starbucks adopts blockchain. And blockchains, it's kind of clunky and slow and low transactions per second, but it works beautifully as this like fascia, connective tissue between all their different disparate loyalty programs in the back end. So that's kind of a nice bonus there. But like, what are you doing for onboarding to get, because people are spoiled in Web 2. You can just, there's your Gmail and just use OAuth and you can log in and it's kind of delightful and seamless. And how are you, mimicking or even improving that?
Yeah, I mean, we are actually mimicking it, because we think like, people are used to Web 2 systems, and there are a lot more people on Web 2 who would move to Web 3. And, actually Web 3, like, the natives are still a small handful of people who really like understand or are able to kind of use some of that. And so, I would break it into, 3 journeys. One is the whole login journey. And, for any new age Web3 company and including us, I mean, the whole login is, simplified, either email or just an OTP or, even through Facebook or social login, which is like as simple as what you would do in Web 2. The second big piece is the whole payment piece, which has been very, very complex really in the Web 3 world. And, we are probably the only few handful of companies you will ever find in the entire world who actually allow in-app purchases for any digital good, which is, you can actually pay through your Apple Store or Google Store and, Google Pay, and which basically, if you think of, unlocks any local wallet, fiat wallet in 150 countries of the world, right? So you could be in Indonesia and you could actually pay through GoPay on our platform, which is like the biggest barrier in Web3 was that, you have to kind of know MetaMask or any other such complex system. You have to buy cryptos, etc. to do it. But now it's no, you can just pay in your local currency and that's about it. So that's kind of the whole payment infrastructure, complexity, which, it needs to be removed, or we're kind of trying to remove. And then the last thing is just, ease of, buying and selling. And so it should be just like in any e-commerce experience, because millions of people are used to it. And, for us, it's like, you come, click, you just buy it. It comes sits in your profile. It's literally like, any profile you would have created either on Facebook and Instagram, and you're used to going and seeing your picture there or, your gallery there. And that should be the way, the wallet should work. And so if I think of, the wallet as the new email, or the wallet, and the gallery is actually now your wallet, then we don't have to reinvent, right? That is like the biggest thing, and it should be so easy to kind of use. And that's where I think the big question, what you were like saying, is the whole decentralization versus centralization. All of this, but still decentralized is a very, very powerful thing. Is that you still kind of control and own it, rather than any centralized server, and because it's all on the blockchain. And I think that is what we are trying to do, and the industry has to move towards, is that you make it so simple that you don't even feel that it's a transition to Web3 or anything, but it's totally decentralized and you are in full control.
Beautiful, that invisibility. So we just have a few minutes left. I saw something with Airbnb once, and they said, "What's a 5-star experience? What's a 6-star? What's a 10-star experience?" You're getting greeted at the airport by a elephant, and they have a custom surfboard, and you have this like beautiful, lovely experience. Like, what do you see in the? What could you hope or expect for your users to experience once this industry is more mature and?
Right. I think, like you just described, right? Airbnb was able to paint the picture, let people see the rewards. Like if you're a 5-star, for example, I'm actually addicted to, the Marriott Bonvoy points. I don't know if you guys are Marriott kind of member in Bonvoy. Basically,
I'm staying
you
with
are,
Marriott to
right? But
rack up my
aren't you
Bonvoy.
constantly in the world? Like, oh my God, I want to retain my Platinum lead. Oh my God, I want to be ambassador program and stuff like that. But then there's a little ticker that says, oh, you're 25 nights away from being an ambassador, or just 5 nights, right? So I'm constantly in the war with my friends to be like, oh, why don't we go there next weekend so we can bump up our points and stuff like that. So I think they do.
What if you could match that with being a fan of something, right? Then that's not really attainable. It's like we're chasing points, or you're being a fanboy, fangirl.
Right.
Like what if that world merges? That's pretty beautiful.
Yeah, I think that's gonna be on loyalty system on steroids, basically, right? Because you don't have to train people to even like what you're doing already, right? You have something, you like that person, you like this IP. So whatever you actually trying to trigger, it will be a lot easier. But then you provide them the exclusive experience. For example, meeting your favorite super characters from Planet Tota in person, or featuring your own identity avatar play in the Planet Tota movie. Right? It's going to be in theatrical releases, right? Whereas or whatever you're co-creating, right? You could co-create a storyline for, let's say, SAP.
You're in the credits.
You're the credits, and you can also make money. Like on our platform for co-creation creators, whatever you create, singer, your illustrators, and if you go in a production studio, if we like your content, 75% of the revenue share goes into your pocket. Right, so it's not only just keeping them experiencing, but like Casio recently just launched their NFTs, right? I think the big ring to it is really about co-creation, right? How do you actually immerse yourself using your avatar, digital kind of a twin, and also create something and make contribution, and then you can flaunt it. That's the social aspects to it, right? That's why leaderboard comes. Right. So I think all the competition, gamification, getting you involved into doing things, I think it's very, very important to kind of keep people loyal and keep them coming back as well. Yeah.
Great. Yeah. Web 2, we're the shareholders. There's producers and the consumers. No, we're the shareholders. You're the producer and the consumer, but we're going to stay the shareholder. Oh, wait a second. You're the producer and the consumer, but also a shareholder.
Yes.
So that beautiful triumvirate. Tell us what you see in the front lines.
It's almost the same thing, right? So like there are levels to it, right? So playing the game, that's one level. Right, being really good at the game, that's another level. Being recognized as being good at the game, that's another level. The next level will be like being in the game, as in a cameo, right? Part of the game, having your IP in the game, having a part in the story of the game. That's the next level. The next level is making money together with the game.
Right? Or you're not maybe in the game, but something you created is in the game.
Oh
right?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like our top holders, they all have cameos in the game. So when you're playing the game, you would see some of our top holders.
They're like Stan Lee.
Yeah, they're like NPCs,
cameo.
right? Yeah, they're NPCs within the game, and people are like, hey, I know this guy because he's been around. He's holding like 200 Pixelmon, right? So this guy, he have a statue in town or something like that, So we have all of this little Easter egg that we have put it into our game. So all of our top or most loyal holders, they all get involved in the game, not just to play, not just be in the leaderboard, but they are actually in the story, in the manga and the anime that we are creating alongside with the game.
Beautiful.
So that's super fun for them.
Brave New World. Sorry, we're out of time, guys. Thank you so much. Saurabh, Broderick, Brittany, warm round of applause. Thank you very much.